like a joke, man. Like, I don't know. Like when I look at the deep, and obviously we know this is like a reference to Aquaman, and it was kind of more that Aquaman is a joke within this. Like the dark side of it is that he's pretty much a joke, and he's out there banging fish, right? We get all that, so we immediately understand that in the context of the show, right? Kind of what's going on, right? Let me move this up. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. So that's important because we're kind of not saying we're saying that the deep is a douche, but you're kind of like fated to be that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't really not be a total, like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of how we look at even the power set, right? Like the power set, I'm trying to get this thing right. Okay. So it's how we look at the power set. And it's crazy because if we actually separate out the power set from who this person is. Hey, Elsa. Yes, Elsa. Welcome. Let me say hi to Elsa in the chat here, right? I'm kind of getting more interactive with the audience. Okay, so if we look at what his powers is, like this ain't no joke power, man. Like oceanic abilities is pretty power. So I wanted just to kind of get a framework on what are we talking about when we're talking about what the deep's powers are, right? Because obviously most of the time when they were on, they were on land, so you're a little more limited, but you really shouldn't be, okay? So let's define how important oceanic power is, right? Because you're not just swimming in the ocean. This isn't just swimming in the ocean power, right? That's not what the power is, right? The ocean covers 70% of the Earth's surface, right? Just think about that. The Earth is covered, most of the Earth, the majority of the Earth, 70% is covered by the ocean. It contains millions of species onto itself. It regulates the climate. It produces most of the oxygen that we breathe. It's one of the largest living systems on the entire planet in terms of an ecosystem. So if someone truly possesses oceanic ability, what would they look like? Like, and you wouldn't be a clown. Like that's the kind of the funny part about it is I get like you are, to me you are a clown because of your behavior, right? What up, my name? But you really shouldn't. Please give me 3 rounds. I'm sure three. Oh man. Yeah. So he needs like 350, right? He needs $3.54. Somebody make that happen, man. We're a compassionate place, right? Make that happen for Metal Wizard. Although you come in here and beg, I'm the one who should be begging here right now. Like I haven't had one. You're door dashing. I made my lunch, right? I had to make my breakfast here. I made my egg McMuffin this morning, right? You know what? Nah, you just gotta wake your parents up, man. I'm just being real with you, man. That's a family. That's a family drama right there. You're gonna have to wake your family up, right? So anyway, so we're getting back to the deep. I cut my hand because I put in a new ceiling window fan in there yesterday. But yeah, okay. So when we look at his powers, like let's talk about the most obvious power. And this is his ability to communicate with marine wildlife, marine life. That's not just I can hear you. This is actually exchanging information, right? So this means that you could talk to sharks, you could talk to whales, you could talk to dolphins, you could talk to octopus, clearly on the deep side, right? You could talk to squid, right? Fish, crustaceans. Every species in this world actually perceives that world differently, right? Like they all have different sets of stuff. If you talk to a shark and you talk to a squid or something like that, you're going to get a whole different take on what the world is based on all these guys. So all these species are seeing the world differently. A whale might know migration patterns that are thousands of years in span. An octopus might understand camouflage and stealth in the way that humans never do. Communication, like communicating among like killer whales. I know they're dolphins, but I like to separate them out just because they're badass and they look bad. And I don't trust dolphins. I don't mess with dolphins, by the way. I'm all about killer whales. I don't mess with dolphins. Them things will rape you, man. I don't know from experience, but I've watched a lot where I'm like, yeah, be careful around dolphins, man. Like, if you're in the water with dolphins, kind of keep all your stuff tight, right? It's the best defense you have because you don't want to take one from them, right? And they're going to try and give it to you, but that's a whole different topic, right? But this is what the deep has: is you can talk to all these different types of creatures. So the level of information that you get about the world itself has got to be phenomenal, right? Like that's it. And that's your main powers. Like, yeah, I got this homie and I got this homie. What up, Krabby? You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine like talking to some crabs, like your crab homies? What up, Krabby? Yeah, I know you're pissed off again, man. You're just rolling around crabby, right? Pun intended. So that's the ability that it has. Now, the next part of it is that your understanding of marine biology would be next level. You don't need textbooks because the ecosystem itself is teaching you about itself. You learn migration patterns, breeding cycles, right? You get feeding behavior, predator prey relationships, environmental changes, all this stuff goes on. Like you are the encyclopedia of the ocean, right? You're the point where you know every single freaking thing about the ocean that could be known, right? And then it's also underwater survival, which for us is great because here's the thing. We're terrible at us being ocean creatures. Like, I know we all like to go to the beach. I love beaches, right? I went to college in a beach town. Like, I've been to some of the best beaches in the world. Like, I've traveled a little bit and I know how to list of beaches. I've been to like at least, including the ones that are here in the United States. There's one here. But I've been to like three of the best beaches in the entire world. Like, man, I've seen it. I love beaches, right? And I love beach environments, man. That's where I grew up on the West Coast. Like, I'm living in the South now, and I love it. But I'm a Cali guy, man. Like I've always been near water, so this is kind of. I mean, I'm surrounded by water, so it's just a little different environment. So I'm kind of getting to that. The water out here is in the air. Trust me about that. That humidity ain't no joke, right? Maybe the deep could do. Maybe I'm the deep now. I'm deep in humidity out here in the South, but I love it because women are so gorgeous out here. I'm telling you guys, man. So this is what we get. We get like he can go places that we can't go. We need air. We need warm temperatures. We can only handle a little bit of depth pressure. Like we're terrible at depth, by the way. I don't know if you guys realize this, but you're terrible at going deep down into like atmospheric pressures of being in the ocean. You're absolutely terrible. He gets all this stuff. See, these guys can breathe underwater. They can function in darkness. He can endure freezing temperatures. You can remain submerged indefinitely because you have gills. So you can stand there. So this becomes a whole different realm for you than it is to us, right? Where you don't have to fear it. And then the biggest thing is that pressure resistance. Like I talked about it. Like you guys are terrible when it comes to taking on oceanic pressure. You're absolutely terrible at it. Like, you guys can't take on anything. The deeper you go underwater, the more pressure you get. After a while, even like submarines crash, submarines like burst and all that stuff. You could get crushed by this. So a genuine ocean ruler would have to have a body that's capable of taking on these deep trenches, these abysmal like zones where it's dark, like extreme pressures, man. And just like there's all like down there, man, this is the rawest world ever, man. Because everything's trying to eat everything. If you're smaller than me, I'm eating you. They don't even really be discussing it very much. Like I know it probably inside they have their own discussions, but I'm telling you, if you see somebody and they're bigger than you about to get ate. And if you see somebody smaller than you, you better eat it, right? That's how it goes there. So in a distance to that, right? And then the other component that he gets is superhuman swimming. Swimming, right? The ocean, fucking gigantic, man. This is huge. It's enormous. So travel speed matters. A person ruling the sea couldn't really move at just normal speeds, right? You'd have to have some type of enhanced propulsion and greater endurance. You have to have hydrodynamic movement to get through the ocean, right? Crossing hundreds of miles of sea in hours. That's what you have to do. This would make the sea your personal kingdom. You know everybody. You understand all the situations. You're able to be everywhere in the sea where you need to be. So that's it. And then the big part is I don't know if you guys ever notice this, right? When you look at the ocean, there's no roads in the ocean. The fuck are you supposed to get anywhere? There's no. I did not see one sign, right? I know they put buoys and stuff up, but there's no street signs because there's no streets. So when you're out there, there's no landmarks. There's no like, oh man, Texas in 10 miles, all right? Like Dallas, 148 miles. Okay, that doesn't exist in the ocean. The ocean is just more ocean. So you have to be able to navigate. Like think about it. Whales and turtles somehow navigate the entire ocean with extreme accuracy without any street signs, without any like I'm living in a new city and I'm telling you, I don't even go out without GPS on. Like I don't even take the time. It's probably retarding my ability to learn all this stuff, but I'm telling you, I rely on all that technology just to ease the load on my brain. Like I want my brain focusing on other stuff, so I tend to like offload as much work as I can. I know you guys get that. Like, we use our AI. It's not about you're smarter than me. It's like I gotta offload some of this menial task where I can't. And navigating, that's a menial task. You tell me that while I'm just driving. Now I can pay attention to what's going on. Right? I'm not navigating in the same sense. So that's kind of what oceanic powers means. You're navigating currents, you're navigating tides, Magnetic fields are a part of this. Migration routes, right? Underwater geography, all this stuff is there, and you got to know where all this stuff is, or you're never going to get there. You're lost at sea, lost in the middle of the ocean. And then on top of all that, you literally have command over sea creatures. Communicating with them is one thing, which is nice, right? But you have command over these things, man. That's a whole thing. Imagine you could direct a school of sharks, man, or a pod of dolphins, right, to rape everybody, right? Or like giant squid to do your bidding. Or my favorite of all is orcas, by the way. Like imagine I got a team orca and I'm just like, we huddle up, and I'm just like, yeah, look, it's about to catch this dude over there, man. You see him over that boat right there? Don't look directly at him, right? Don't look directly at him, Orky, right? Let's be stealthy about it. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have you go over here on the backside. You're going to set a defensive screen and cause a diversion, and then we're going to ram his boat from the front. Me and an orca could do that, right? Because they're highly intelligent creatures, and they know everything. So if I have an entire pod of orcas, man, I'm about to wreck some business. And that's the kind of power that the deep actually has. Entire fish populace. Have you seen it? Like I saw a video, man, it's on TikTok. And I gotta stop getting my news from TikTok, by the way. But you'll watch this on TikTok, so I guess I really can't complain. But this woman swimming in the ocean, and she's near this giant school of fish, and like they surround her for a second, and these things just fucking veer. These fish are just like, now we're over here. And they veered off, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's so beautiful." But the guy narrating it, which he could be a liar, I don't actually know this guy. Right? I'm just gonna be really honest. But basically, he said like this school of fish are actually like extreme carnivores, and if they had detected any blood or she had a cut, they would have swarmed all over her, right? So she's lucky in her suit. There was no exposure or anything like that. But that also exists in the sea. So you do have control over all that stuff. And then I think there's even an eighth component to this, man. And I'm like I said, I hated the deep. I hated everything about this character. I never liked the deep, not one moment of the day. And I don't like Aquaman in any iteration they have. We'll talk about Namor later because he's different. The other thing, the highest level of oceanic power is actually influence over the ecosystems itself, right? So you can control coral reefs, fisheries, food chains, population balances, like you've got everything, oceanic health. You're no longer just a marine superhero. You can become a guardian of this entire biosphere. This dick doesn't do it, but this is what's capable. It's probably what highlights why it's all so bad. This is what makes who the deep actually became even worse, right? Like you're even worse. You're even worse because you could have been. First of all, there's no reason you ever should have been bound down to Homelander like that. Go into the ocean. Like, why would you want to be in the Seven when you could be king of the ocean? Or at least, it seems like he could be king of the ocean. He could have set up his own empire in the ocean. You control all the animals. Everybody's down with you, or they were, right? We saw that all went away. Like, you lost all that. But you could be running the sea. And could Homelander even touch you in the sea? Could Homelander touch the deep in the sea? I think that's an interesting question right now, right? Like in a real environment, if I'm in the sea, can Homelander stay down there long enough? Like, does Homelander still need oxygen? Just a question. Could the Homelander, which is what his OG name was, got it right? Could the Homelander attack the deep in the water? Like, would he need the capacity to be able to hold his breath? Or how long would it be? What's the scenario if Homelander jumps into the ocean with the deep? How does his power hold up against the deep? Right? I think that's a pretty significant thing. Homelander could attack the deep. Might be one of those. Fight him. Yeah, see, the deeper they go down in the water, that's obviously your name is the deep. Like, this is how functionally you really should have dealt with Homelander, right? You should have told Homelander this and then just dove deep into the water. He's gonna come after you, right? Like, he's gonna come after you. You could attack Homelander in a lot of different ways. Like, You can breathe indefinitely down there. You're far more efficient in the water. You can navigate the ocean, and you could potentially command millions of sea creatures to set them up. Like maybe you attack with like microorganisms first, right? So all these things. So you do have some advantages there. Now, Homelander, 500 feet deep while trying to hold his breath, right? Because you have to hold your breath. Homelander needs oxygen. As far as we can tell, we haven't seen Homelander go up to the upper stratosphere or any place where he would not need oxygen, right? So now you got to fight against the deep. You're looking for the deep, and you got to navigate, right, against the deep. Do your eye beams even work in the deep, like in the water? So this is a couple of things here, right? And then you got sharks, giant squid, orcas, whales, massive schools of fish, like even if they're just obscuring your vision, right? Even if they're just obscuring your vision, even if they're just sideline, like not direct attacks, right? All of a sudden, the deep is a lot more dangerous, right? Now, your heat vision is still terrifying, but I'm concerned, right, about using your heat vision because even a laser has trouble traveling through water. Like even a laser can cut through a building with an air won't necessarily be that effective over hundreds of feet of water. So his best weapon probably gets nerfed out a little bit, right? Like that, we could say that if nothing else, you're more disoriented. Like the sky is your environment. Now you're here. So could the deep actually be him in his environment? In his environment, I'm gonna give it a possibility, man. I don't know. Like, first of all, like if the Homelander, okay, if the Homelander needs air, then it's a problem. How far can you pursue? How far can you go down before you have to get back up to get to oxygen? Like, there's also the risk of electric shock. There's eels. Like, if he has this thing sculpted right, can you necessarily like what are you gonna? Are you gonna attack and then you're gonna fly up to get air and then you can turn around and come back in? Like, lacking oxygen, like being reliant on oxygen, that's a problem here, man. That's the real problem. So it just kind of gets into like the mindset of the deep. Like maybe you didn't need to be such a deep bitch, right? Maybe you didn't need to do that, right? Because like diving into the ocean, I'm just gonna live down here. You probably can't even find me. You probably can't even find me. Even scanning the skies, you probably can't even find the deep down here, right? You know what I'm saying? So locating him is not going to be easy, and then you're navigating, all the elements of running out action. Now maybe because you have an enhanced mechanism, maybe you can go down longer, but how long is that? There has to be a finite amount. So this is it, right? The deep has superpowers too. So can you break his neck really quickly? Probably. But look, that's if he just stands there. If he moves, if he uses his weapons properly, they could have taken it. They scouted, they set up where they're going to have him at. This could go down. Like the Homelander could have been gotten by the deep, man. I absolutely believe that. But that's not really why we're here. That's just kind of a side note. Okay, so let's talk about the actual deep. Now we understand the powers, all the powers that go along with saying I'm the ocean dude. This will apply to Aquaman, all those guys, right? So this is kind of where we get into the deep. Because given everything that he has, given his whole power set, you would think this would be a confident guy. Like you would think that that's what he would be. But that ain't the case, is it, right? The deep is exactly the opposite of this. He's not, he's absolutely insecure 100% of the time. He's kind of awkward. Like even as a dude, he's kind of weird. He needs validation. He's in like the